morning, good afternoon actually to all of you here. To tell you something about myself, of course, very broadly speaking or briefly speaking, I'm a soldier turned educator. Been in the army for 34 years and had nothing to do with education at all. Quite uneducated myself because I joined the NDA after passing a metric exam. Until my staff college in 1983, I was considered quite an uneducated person. Never been to college, had no degree. But today I have some degree, so that part is over. Coming to 14 years ago, when I was chairman of the army school, something happened, and I'm not talking of that story, it's very well beaten by now. There was a small incident where changing the life in an army school brought me a lot of satisfaction. And when the head girl of the school one day came on the stage and acknowledged my work and gave me a scroll on which 800 children had signed a thank you note, I decided to leave the army and do something for children. So I opened my own institution, Empower Activity Camps, in a partnership with 4 of my cousins. And I'll now tell you what was in my mind, because now this is relevant to today's subject. It's also very relevant to the MBA for kids. In those 2 years that I was the chairman of the school and I dealt with children, as also when I stepped out and I was visualizing what is to be done and what are the challenges these children are facing and what do we need to do about them, I found that there were 2 very strong gaps. There were voids. One was, what does a student in a college think about the corporate world and what it turns out to be? And the second was the gap between what the colleges teach and what the corporates are looking for. Big gap. So I designed a program called College to Corporate. But before this happened, the fundamental question that came to my mind was, is our education system preparing people for life, or is it preparing people for exams? I also found that in the army, we have a sword of honor given to the best all-round cadet passing out from IMA. And I found that very few of the sword of honors ever became generals. The reason was that there is no relationship between marks and life. Then it also occurred to me that if there's a very serious student who is going seriously in life, going according to what the norms are, he's studying hard, doing well in his exams, scoring good marks, getting very high marks in his school, so goes into a good college. Now, all colleges are good, there's no bad college. But when I say good, I mean a branded college. So he goes to so-called the high-end college. And then let's see, does very well there, and he goes into a high-end company again, which is very well known, gets a good job. But if he is a studious type, if he's a self-centered person, if he's not a team player, if he never learned how to make decisions, if he never learned even the basics of how to think, which no education system teaches us, no education system teaches us communications. They at the best tell you something about speaking, but communication is not speaking. No education system ever taught us how to listen. And when people come in the corporate world, I realize that listening is more of a challenge than talking. So what I realized was that if a person who's not a good team player, who doesn't perform well in corporate world, and his boss tells him, thank you very much, I think you have to leave because you're not performing. He says, sir, but I got 95% marks. And the boss says, sorry, I don't care. He says, what? All my life, last 12 to 15 years, people told me marks, 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 marks. And today you say you don't care. And then this boy realizes, and this is my crux of what I want to say, he is standing at the threshold of his life saying, what they taught me does not matter, and what matters they never taught me. Now, why I'm very highly impressed by what Anshav is doing, is resonating with this thought which came to me 14 years back, and what Anshav is doing is actually reinforcing the same thought. Catch them young, teach them life. Knowledge is not a problem. Application of knowledge is a problem. The challenge is, do you apply what you learn? And today's children have understood this. Things are better. Education system has become better. I have studied the education system in the last 14 years a lot. And I very sincerely follow a person called Dr. Sugata Mitra. He talks of education like no other person talks about, and I'm highly impressed by what he says. And we need an education system where people are taught what life is all about. And life is not about marks for sure. So coming now to experiential learning. So when I came out of the army and I started my own place, I started with, I used to think, how do I manage these children? How do I give them value of life? And how do I make them good human beings? When I say good human beings, I mean people who can live a happy, successful, prosperous life, a life that they want to live. And what occurred to me was that they need to learn these life skills. Life skills, some people call them soft skills. I don't know why they call them soft skills. They're so hard to acquire, but we call them soft. They're very hard. Life skills, real life skills. Now, I designed a program in an outdoor environment when I understood that there is something called adventure and there is something called processed adventure. When you go and do rock climbing, rafting, or parasailing, when you do it for the thrill of it, you want to do it for your adrenaline, that is all pure adventure. But if you use that adventure or an outdoor activity as a tool for learning and use it to learn lessons from it, then it becomes processed adventure. So we started with this processed adventure. I very accidentally ran into something called experiential learning, and I ran into experiential learning, and there was something called AEE, Association of Experiential Education. So I've just put it in the chat box for your reference. There's a website there. So anyone who wants to know anything more about experiential learning must hit this website and see what they mean. So I understood the meaning of experiential learning, and I found that we all learn by experiences. But how do we put that into a structured, formal way of learning? Let me tell you here that somewhere about 6-7 years back, I was asked to give a talk on experiential learning in a seminar which was being attended by principals of schools. There were about 60 principals of schools in Pune, and it was sponsored by Education World. And the subject given to me was introducing experiential learning in schools. And the first thing I said, I'm sorry, this subject is not correct. You don't have to introduce experiential learning, because even when I went to school, if I went to the lab for physics labs, physics experiments, or I did experiments in the chemistry lab, or even as a very young child, if I used scissors to cut pictures out of newspapers, that was experiential learning. So we don't have to introduce experiential learning, but we have to formalize it, enhance it, make it more effective. Okay, so I was saying that in our life, we keep having experiences every moment. But sometimes we learn from them instantly, like I told you in the case of a burn, that you got burned and you learned instantly. But sometimes we don't learn instantly and we think about it. We reflect, we think about what is, I hope you can see the board. Is this diagram visible?
Very well, sir, very well.
So, for example, if I am taking a flight to Delhi from Bombay and I go to the airport and I find that I have missed my flight. Now, I'm just thinking about why did I miss my flight? When I'm thinking that, that is reflection, that I've had an experience and I'm reflecting, which also from the other thing you said experience, thinking, reflecting, whatever you call it, is the next step. Now, once I'm thinking, further step is that let's say I meet Anshav on the airport and he says, "So what happened?" And I said, "I missed my flight." So he said, "Why did you miss your flight?" I said, there was so much of traffic in Juhu Gali, so I missed it. He said, "Sir, क्या ये आज पहली बार जुहू गली में ट्रैफिक हुआ है? वहाँ तो होता ही है. You should have catered for it. You know that Bombay mein traffic is bad. So did you cater for traffic congestion? And why couldn't you leave home a little earlier?" Now this is called recording. That means whether I write it or I speak about it or I discuss it with somebody is called recording. Right? And after that, when I learn a lesson from it, it is called processing. That I am going to process this information and I tell myself that, see, I should not depend on clear roads. There will be traffic congestion, and therefore every time I move out of my house, I must cater for traffic congestion. This is a lesson which I've learned out of this experience, and in my next experience, I will apply this lesson. So whether I'm going for a football match or I'm going for a wedding or I'm going for a training event, I will now, having learned from this experience, use this experience in my next activity. So it is not a cycle, really speaking, it is a spiral. It goes into, every experience goes into another experience, another experience. Now, this is, if you go, actually Kolb cycle, if I have to teach you properly, would take probably 2 hours. And there's a lot on Kolb cycle, and after Kolb cycle, David Kolb came out with this concept somewhere in 1850 or something. Hundreds of people have come out with conflicts, controversies, etc. But still, after all those controversies, nobody has been able to overrule it, and Kolb cycle still stands. Try it out, can try out. What we do in training and using experiential learning is that we have an activity, and I love to call it a game. A lot of trainers say don't call it a game, it dilutes the importance. But I feel the moment you say game, people take it more, they're more receptive, they're more enjoy it. So you do an activity, and an activity is normally designed to bring out a particular lesson. For example, if I want to teach communications, I will create an activity or a game around communications where things would be would need for a message to be communicated. And then instead of going on a PowerPoint and say, these are the barriers, here you will say what happened, what didn't come up, and the result would be, okay, these are called communication barriers. So when people have experienced it, it is far, far more effective. You retain it, you understand it, and you carry it with you longer than what you would do if you just try to understand it virtually. Okay. Now, after you have done the activity, when you come back, instead of getting into a discussion mode straight away, I use this experiment that I give everyone a small piece of paper, and I call it the individual reflection sheet. So everyone needs to write here what did he learn from this? Not learn, but what happened in that. So there's a format to it. And it takes 3 minutes, nothing more. In 3 minutes, he has to just write down a few things. That means for 3 minutes, I'm making the person go into reflection mode. All 40 people will reflect, unlike in the other case where I was not sure how many people would reflect. Then I make them sit in their teams and they do something called small group learning. Now in the team, I ask people, okay, talk amongst yourselves and say what happened that should have happened, what didn't happen that should have happened, and how could you have done better? Now, this is a very, very intensive, high learning session where people are not learning from an instructor. That is why we call it facilitation. It's not teaching. So what happens is here, in the group, people talk about it and they discuss, they exchange ideas, they exchange their experiences, and then it comes to where now the facilitator comes in. Now he comes and asks some more questions, tries to get more experiences or lessons out of it, and then very subtly, please understand this, very subtly related to real life situations. Many people do a mistake of saying straight away, like a direct connection or a direct question doesn't happen in your company. One should avoid to try to avoid that, because we want this subconscious mind to absorb the experience and relate it to real life very subtly. So a strong connection is made when you don't make it very direct, and yet, so that is where the experience of a facilitator comes in. That is why every trainer cannot be a facilitator. I'm coming again. I give them the sticky note and I ask them, please stick this at the highest possible place. And when I'm saying highest possible place, physical place. Some people put it on their forehead and say, my thinking is the highest in the world, or things like that. I'm not talking of those virtual things, and I'm not talking of metaphors and all. I'm talking of physical height. I want to see where your name is at the highest possible place. Can you please unmute everyone one by one, Ansha? Let me ask everyone, where would your chit be? Where would your chit be and how would you do it? 3 minutes.
I am not attempting because I know the answer, but
Okay, you know
let
the answer.
others
Please don't attempt.
do that.
Anyone who knows the answer, please don't attempt. Yeah, Anil, let's hear you. Where
Highest
would you?
possible point on your body? Or is
Sorry?
it an open? Are we talking about just on the body, the highest possible place, or could this be anywhere?
Not
Like,
in
for
your body,
example,
I said.
I'm thinking.
It
I
could be
didn't-
anywhere, Anil. It could be anywhere, Anil. Not on the body.
Okay.
Any highest place
Sure.
possible near around you. And you have
Well,
three
if anything is possible, I'd go on a plane
plane.
or a helicopter.
Okay.
If anything,
You've got
3
minutes. You have got 3 minutes to post your or paste your chit somewhere.
The limit
3
is the
minutes.
time, Anil.
I will post it on the opposite wall. Where I'm sitting, there is an opposite wall. I'll post it there.
Very good. Anyone else?
I will post it at eye height. So if I'm
Okay.
looking straight,
Okay. Anyone else?
Naeed, you want to attempt?
This is a tricky one. And I'm just trying to think that the answer is going to be very simple.
Oh, it's not tricky. And what do you think happens in a room? What happens in a room? Okay, now tell me, where would you put it?
That's what I'm
eye
saying.
height, I would think.
That this is a very tricky one. Because the answer is supposed to be something very simple. It's not supposed to be, up on the wall. Yeah, probably I'd just pull up a chair, go pick up. I mean, the quickest thing that I could do is just pull up a chair, get up on the chair and paste it the highest place that I could probably reach at that point of time.
Very good. Very good. So I did this activity in Muscat. There was a program in Bank Muscat, and they had their SME clients. And the roof of that hall was a type of a dome. And I think at the highest point, it must have been 25 feet high, right? And I was told, don't do any activity in which a man has to touch a woman. So do you think this activity requires a man to touch a woman anywhere? They said not even a shake hand. But I've got a picture of an Arab woman who asked to be lifted, and there were at least 6 hands on her bumps. Okay, where people lifted her because she wanted to put the thing at the highest possible place. Right. One person went, brought a rod, a big rod, about 20 feet or 15, 20 feet rod, put the chit on the top, and then did this and got it at the ceiling. Do you think they got the prize?
Sir, just a
No,
moment,
they
sir.
didn't.
Sir, before you
Because
reveal the answer,
to a person who just
sir, before you reveal the answer, hold on. I think there was some other answer which was coming in. Inderpal Singh, I am Singh, sir, thanks for joining. Do you have some answer on this? You were trying to talk.
The highest that I could jump. The highest that I could jump.
you could jump. Yeah, you can
Jump.
jump. Nobody no
Right,
stopping
so
to.
probably the highest place that I could reach, probably.
Okay. Right. So the prize went to the person who opened the door, went out, took the elevator and went and stuck it at the 13th floor.
In 3
Okay.
minutes.
Now point is this activity takes 3 to 4 minutes to do. But I take 10 minutes on the debriefing, and that is what is important. Have you closed your doors in your life? Have you in your life focused on only walls and ceiling? Did I ever say in this room? I said, where can you stick this at the highest possible place? The only limit was 3 minutes. Can you go to the 13th floor in 3 minutes and come back? Yes, you can. The point is, do I in my life struggle hard and complain like Kodak must have done and Nokia must have done? हमने इतना मेहनत किया, मेरू कैब्स ने बहुत मेहनत किया, leaders in the market came, did lot of मेहनत किया कि मैंने टेबल के ऊपर चेयर रखी like Nahid did. Nahid put a chair on a table and then got onto it. That Arab lady had 10 people trying to lift her, and people make pyramids. All type of things happen. There's a lot of physical work. But the person who won, who went the elevator of success, did not do any mehnat. That is what